Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where Trump wants to build a statue garden, this is Ballot.
And Gen Z apparently doesn't know how to order at a bar. What's even happening to this country? So Trump wants to build a national garden of American heroes with 250 statues by July 4th, 2026. That's next year. Which means we have about 1 year to create 250,000 life-size statues. What could go wrong? Well, according to sculpture experts, literally everything. Daniel Kunitz from Sculpture Magazine says the plan is completely unworkable. And when Sculpture Magazine thinks your sculpture plan won't work, that's probably not a great sign. The timeline is absolutely bonkers. Applications are due July 1st, winners get notified in September, and the statues need to be delivered by June 1st, 2026. That's like ordering a wedding cake the morning of your wedding and expecting it to have 7 tiers. But here's the best part. Trump's plan specifically forbids abstract or modernist statues. He wants old-school realist work. And guess where most of the artisans who specialize in that style are located? China. So Trump's America First statue garden might end up being made in China. You literally cannot make this up. Dylan Farnham, who ran a major foundry, explains the problem. There are places where you can really whip some stuff off. They can do it in China. And the sculptures aren't cheap. Each one costs $200,000. At this rate, we're talking about $50 million for what one expert compared to a government-run version of Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. The subject list is its own comedy show. We've got Patrick Henry next to Whitney Houston, Muhammad Ali beside William Rehnquist, and somehow Alex Trebek made the cut. Alex Trebek, the Canadian Jeopardy host, is getting a statue in the National Garden of American Heroes. I guess, what is American exceptionalism was the Daily Double. Oh, and they don't have a location yet. The plan calls for a suitable space to be identified. South Dakota offered a spot near Mount Rushmore, which is perfect. Nothing says thoughtful artistic curation like all roadside attraction next to the world's most famous presidential rock faces. One sculptor described it as having a circus mentality, saying people will want their picture taken with Babe Ruth or MLK or whoever. Which pretty much sums up the whole project. Babe Ruth or MLK or whoever, really capturing the gravitas there. The real tragedy? While everyone's arguing about who should be included, nobody's asking whether we can actually build the thing. But hey, at least when it fails spectacularly, we'll have a really expensive pile of made-in-China stickers to show for it. So those weirdos in Gen Z have decided that opening a bar tab is too much commitment. These are the same people who swipe right on dating apps all night but won't leave their credit card with a bartender for 2 hours. The reasons are fascinating. Gen Z drinks less than older generations, they're used to tapping their phones for everything, and they get anxious about losing track of spending. Cameron Haluska, a 26-year-old from Washington, told Washpo keeping a tab open increases his anxiety. Sir, if a bar tab gives you anxiety, wait until you hear about mortgages. But here's the thing that's driving bartenders absolutely insane. When you close out after every single drink, you're slowing down service for everyone. Bartender Al Barber manages a bar in LA, and he's not having it. He says, "These kids never learned the proper way to be a barfly." Now, bartenders are having to teach basic bar etiquette. One bartender in Seattle will literally call out groups of friends. "You guys all know each other? You guys not friends? You can't get this round?" She says someone has to bully these people, respectfully, of course, and the math is brutal for bars. Every time you swipe your card, the bar pays fees. If you spend $100 in 10 separate transactions instead of one, those fees go from $4.30 to $7. When you're processing hundreds of transactions a night, that adds up faster than your student loan interest. The best part? Some of these Gen Z customers get too shy to flag down the bartender to close their tab, so they just wait. James Burns once missed his bus home because he was too polite to interrupt the bartender. He literally chose public transportation consequences over social awkwardness. That's the most Gen Z thing I've ever heard. One bartender has started preemptively telling customers, "Hey guys, let's just start tabs right now." He's basically become a bar tab life coach. Next, he'll be offering seminars, tab commitment, learning to leave your card behind. Goodyear is celebrating the 100th anniversary of their Blimp by doing something they're calling a once-in-a-lifetime event, flying all 3 Blimps together over Northeast Ohio. Which is great news for anyone who's ever looked up at the sky and thought, you know what this needs? More advertising. They're calling it a victory lap, which sounds impressive until you realize we're talking about vehicles that travel at the breakneck speed of 35 miles per hour. At that pace, their victory lap is going to take longer than most people's commute to work. The best viewing spot is apparently Wingfoot Lake State Park, where you can watch from the waterfront. Finally, a reason to go to a lake in Ohio that doesn't involve explaining to your friends why you moved there. But here's where it gets really Ohio. They're timing one of the flyovers with the Akron Rubber Ducks baseball game. The Rubber Ducks. That's a real team name, and they're playing the Chesapeake Bay Sox, which sounds like someone lost a bet in the team naming department. The first 1,000 fans at the game get a free t-shirt with a blimp on it. Nothing says collector's item like a free t-shirt featuring a giant balloon filled with helium. I'm sure those will be worth dozens of dollars on eBay someday. They're also doing a flyover during Akron's State of the City address at something called Lock 3. I don't know what Lock 3 is, but it sounds like either a really boring municipal building or the least exciting escape room ever created. The whole thing runs from June 3rd through June 5th, so you have 3 whole days to crane your neck upward and squint at what are essentially very slow, very large billboards. And knowing Goodyear, they'll probably find a way to work in a tire sale promotion while they're up there. 100 years of blimps, everyone. That's a century of people pointing at the sky and saying, hey, look, it's the Goodyear blimp, as if they've just spotted Bigfoot instead of a floating advertisement that moves slower than rush hour traffic. The White House held their annual Take Our Kids to Work Day, and naturally, the first thing these young reporters wanted to know was the hard-hitting stuff. What candy does the president eat? Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt revealed that Trump consumes a good amount of candy daily, with pink Starbursts and Tootsie Rolls being his go-to choices. Pink Starburst because even his candy preferences have to be controversial. I mean, everyone knows the red ones are superior, but here we are. The kids also grilled Leavitt about Trump's other dietary habits, and apparently the man enjoys a big, beautiful steak, ice cream sundaes with chocolate sauce, and McDonald's hamburgers and fries. So basically, the diet of a 12-year-old who just won the lottery. But the real moment came when one brave child asked about Trump's favorite child among his 5 adult kids. Leavitt immediately shut that down, saying it was too controversial to answer. Think about that. In a world where we debate everything from trade wars to immigration policy, asking a dad to pick his favorite kid is where we draw the line. Smart move, honestly. That's the kind of question that starts family feuds that last decades. Meanwhile, Melania was busy with the younger kids, helping them decorate wooden American flags with glitter stars. She told the children their work was beautiful, which is probably the most diplomatic thing anyone said in that building all week. And Trump himself? He was supposed to have a public event with the kids, but they decided against press coverage. Though an aide did share video of him doing his signature dance move for the children. Nothing says presidential dignity quite like busting out the Trump shuffle for a bunch of 10-year-olds on the South Lawn. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI.
You know the silhouette, the squint, the voice that cuts like a blade. Clint Eastwood isn't just a movie star. He's a myth, a mayor, a cultural fault line, and maybe the last great American icon. Eastwood Reloaded tells his story one chapter at a time. The hits, the flops, the chaos between the scenes. Because legends aren't born, they're built. Eastwood Reloaded. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
He thought cryptocurrency would set him free. Instead, it made him a target. Alessandro Romano flew to New York for a business meeting with his former partner. What he found was an elaborate trap. A luxury apartment turned torture chamber, where digital dreams become real-world nightmares. For 17 days, he endured unimaginable torture. His captors wanted his Bitcoin passwords. They had police protection. They had done this before. This is the true story of friendship turned to betrayal. Innovation turned to exploitation, and one man's fight for survival against a system designed to break him. Crypto Kidnap. Available wherever you get your podcasts.